just want to say thank you to the Women in 3D Printing. What a great organization you have, and I'm, really honored to be here with, presenting at the TIPE 2022 conference. So real quick, I'm super excited to be talking to you all today. I am Kathy Meyerhofer. I'm the Chief Sales Officer at Xometry. And today my subject is going to be just addressing the capacity gap that exists in American manufacturing. And so a couple of things that in terms of a little bit about myself, I lead a team of professionals around the world committed to connecting enterprise buyers with global manufacturers. Our digital marketplace is the largest of its kind, and that gives us a unique insights into the trends that are shaping manufacturing, from the continued rise of 3D printing to macroeconomic forces like COVID, supply chain concerns, rising prices in raw materials, and reshoring. And because we're a digital manufacturer, we can see in near real time the products that are engineered today and which will power the economy for tomorrow. We get to work with really cool stuff. And like I said, it's heady stuff. We're able to see, what's the next great thing, the next rising industries, electronic and autonomous vehicles, to clean energy, robotics, agricultural technology, space exploration, and significant more. So with technologies like additive manufacturing and with the recent passage of the stimulus bill about to kick in, the industry is at its strongest in decades. But there's still plenty of room for growth, both in terms of entrepreneurial and leadership opportunities, particularly for women and people of color. I am as passionate as I am about manufacturing technology, 3D printing, and manufacturing in general. I am equally as passionate about helping women see the boundless opportunities of our chosen profession. So today I will discuss how women and people from diverse communities have been entering the manufacturing field and how we see this new crop of entrepreneurs taking advantage of the great opportunities the recently passed infrastructure bill offers. Additionally, I'll discuss the face of American manufacturing is becoming more diverse and inclusive, and why its increased representation is good for our industry and the broader economy. My colleague, Sophia McDonald, will host a session later today to discuss the ways we all can recruit, retain, and inspire more women and people of color to our industry. And first, a little bit more about myself. I'm in sales, so we like to do that from time to time. I've always been involved in a tech industry. I started in the semiconductor industry, and then my path took me to IT services. And from there, I found manufacturing at Protolabs, where I ran North American sales. And I was able and fortunate enough to follow a female leader who provided me with great mentorship throughout my time at the company. And I really do see that move into manufacturing at the time was really one of the smartest moves I've ever made in my career, and up until I was able to join Xometry. I was so attracted to the company because I find 3D printing to be such a fascinating industry. And I was also drawn to Xometry's business idea, which is a digital marketplace. We enable companies across industries, including those benefiting from the infrastructure stimulus, tap into the huge capacity gap that exists to bring their ideas to life. Technology has always fascinated me, and I've experienced great opportunities throughout my career. I've had the opportunity to see cool products like parts for space exploration built through 3D printing, as well as life-saving products for the medical field make a difference. At Xometry, I'm connecting companies and people with the big ideas and the manufacturers who can place them to life. Advancing innovation in such important and emerging sectors, again, like autonomous and electric vehicles, aeronautics, robotics, space, clean energy, and more are important. 3D printing is gaining serious momentum. And I'm so excited to be along for the ride and share my experience, which I hope will help more women get into the manufacturing field and succeed within it. Sorry about that. So 3D printing is not a new technology, but the advancements in it are exciting and are helping to fuel the momentum that's with it. And when I say that 3D printing is gaining serious momentum, I put this in, just ask my mother, Rosemary. My mother's 93-year-old from little Shakopee, Minnesota. And when I went to tell my mom that I was going to be relocating from Minnesota to Maryland, and of course, she asked me, what am I going to be doing? And I said to her, well, Mom, I'm going to be joining this company. And I always try to keep it kind of high level, didn't really ever want to get too technical with her. And I said, well, they do things like 3D printing. And she says, and I said, I don't know if you know what that is. And she goes, oh, for goodness sakes, of course I know what that is. She goes, I watch the news. And she goes, I've seen some really cool things, like they make like prosthetics. And she goes, and they can 3D print food. She goes, are you going to be 3D printing food? And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm not going to be 3D printing food. But we will probably work with organizations that are build the machines to 3D print in food. And I think that says a lot about, about the industry in itself, is that it's the broad nature in which we talk about 3D printing, from TV shows like Westworld on HBO that have given a general audience in terms of what are some of the manufacturing processes that are out there. But I will tell you, my 93-year-old mother, if I started talking to her about injection molding or CNC machining or sheet metal fabrication, I would get blank stares. And I find it fascinating that the interest in this is because of just how cool the technology is. So as we know, enterprises are looking to innovate faster, and 3D printing is allowing us to do that. And as more and more organizations adopt 3D printing, we'll see a greater evolution and sustainable products in the long term. So as such, we're seeing more and more diversity in the field thanks to 3D printing entrepreneurs. At Xometry, for example, we're seeing a surge of entrepreneurs, women, veterans, and people from diverse communities take advantage of the great opportunities today's manufacturing marketplace offers. In fact, 1 in 4 manufacturers on our platform are diverse. And I really, really want to see that grow in terms of what that ratio is. And I'm really excited that we have as much diversity that we do have on our platform, but I think that there's so much room for more. So thanks to these entrepreneurs, we're now seeing the impact of their efforts across multiple industries. Manufacturers have previously been very limited by what they can construct and offer. When you think about the decades-old technologies in manufacturing that are out there that still today have their limitations in terms of how parts can be manufactured and the complexities that are there, innovations like 3D printing into our digital marketplace at Xometry really allow us to be able to say yes more to the customer, that yes, we can manufacture their parts, and we can do that. I think as I've also throughout my career, as I've seen, I think probably one of the most important things about the growth opportunities for women and people of diverse backgrounds is that there is seemingly so much more opportunity today. Manufacturing is undergoing a significant transformation. Digitization is disrupting this $260 billion industry and expanding who we're hiring and will help drive it even further. There are so many opportunities today. We are looking, and everybody is looking for really talented people who are excited about technology and excited about what we can do to actually help foster growth in entrepreneurship. Women and people from diverse backgrounds are helping to shake up the industry better than ever. And also, I will say, for the better as well. I'm really quite proud to tell you that 40% of my team is made up of women, and that percentage continues to grow. I work very hard to attract women and attract people from diverse backgrounds, because I think the diversity is so important. Our customers are diverse. I want my sales organization to be diverse as well. And I think women have such a great opportunity to dive into this field and succeed in it. And just the other day, talking to someone who was in part of this orientation, who has a really cool, unique idea, creative idea, figured out how she was going to do it in terms of buying a couple 3D printing machines. And today she's got many 3D printing machines. She's able to have a business that constructed from an idea, a creative idea that she had. And next thing you know, she is manufacturing her own products. I think that is so cool. And it's so interesting to see where we've come. There's so many different career paths within the field to be successful, making a great living and being impactful in such a booming industry. As a chief sales officer, I really get the great opportunity to speak with customers from all over the place. And talking with them helps me to understand the incredible things the industry is doing in turn. And this, of course, helps me grow as well, to think of, if we could do this, we should be able to do this. And I think that that's how we have to think about this when we are talking about 3D printing, that the opportunities become unlimited. And I think and with Xometry, we look to try to help create that limitless innovation for our customers and for our manufacturers. I am exposed to so many things through our network that I never would have touched otherwise, from stuff going into space to electronic and autonomous vehicles I've mentioned before, things that I'm really care about, such as technology that's fighting climate change. I love that we touch these areas and interact with companies who are driving this innovation. And and as I look at the challenges that we're facing today, sorry, don't mean to, I'll make you dizzy with my moving. I have a touchy mouse. I think Amber touched on it as I listened to her thing in terms of 2020 and what that was as a wake-up call to us all. As we face unprecedented disruption, and the message was clear, we need a more resilient supply chain. Diversifying your network, sourcing more parts from more sources closer to home, and transacting on a platform that eliminates inefficiencies goes a long way towards addressing this. Furthermore, potential disruption isn't the only supply chain issue impacting organizations. Even when a long, brittle supply chain is functioning well, there could stand to be more efficiencies in the process. Xometry uniquely addresses what we like to call the capacity gap that exists in American manufacturing. Because we work directly with thousands of manufacturers, we know available capacity exists in the marketplace. And our marketplace is specifically designed to help manufacturers market their services, manage their cash flow, and gain access to raw materials needed to make their parts and the products for customers. Knowing you have a diversified network that you can really rely upon, ensuring that you get the parts on time and on budget, is huge for organizations of all shapes and sizes. Typically, as organizations get closer and closer to full capacity, the little supply chain issues that slow them down become bigger and bigger problems, preventing them from ever reaching their true ceiling. It can take just one part to hold up a customer's production. And so having the capacity in order to solve those issues are significant to them, and having the available options in terms of manufacturing process is significant as well. And we look to eliminate this inefficiency. We can unlock untapped capacity and close the capacity gap. A perfect example of how our platform has helped organizations pivot is how we handled the initial closure of the Chinese market on the onset of the pandemic. We were able to fulfill every one of our jobs that we had going. I like to tell this story, and I'll try to be brief. In January, end of January of 2020, when China needed to shut down in the beginning in Wuhan, we work with, as I mentioned earlier, we worked with many global partners as well as many domestic partners and in Europe as well. We had many jobs that we were running over in China, and we went to our customers and we said, they're closing down for a week. You all know it ended up being like close to 2 months. What can we do to help you? And, we can source capacity here in the United States for you. What can you wait, or would you like to do that? And in the beginning, most of our customers chose to wait it out to see how it was going to happen. And then as you can imagine, as China continued to remain closed down, we were able to source more and more of the customers' orders here domestically for them. At about the same time, the United States started shutting down. And while Washington State was a hotbed, and it was New York, and basically what we were able to do is work with all of our manufacturers and say, we can help you. If you want to keep your doors open, we can help you. If you need to close your doors, or you have to go to a skeleton crew because of issues facing with COVID, like, we can help you in terms of moving your business and keeping your customers going and keeping their production lines moving as well. And in that time, we never missed a beat. And I continue to fall back on the fact that the manufacturing partners and the capacity that was sitting within our network really showed the resiliency that we were able to provide our customers at that time. So one thing I think that I would like to transition to is, as I talk about how important women and people of diverse backgrounds, looking at the industry in general, I really want to call upon those of you that are out there and those of you that need mentorship, being a mentor and being a mentee. As I have grown and, climbed the ranks within the manufacturing industry, I can say that mentorship are very important and very worthwhile. I was able to be mentored throughout my career by incredible individuals that have helped me learn and grow and succeed. As such, programs like TIPE 3D Printing Conference are so important to this industry. And again, I want to do a big shout out to you and the Women in 3D Printing, because I think that you are there and you can offer up that guidance and advice, and find those folks that out there that are just looking for that inspiration or looking for that mentorship that's there. And I think creating platforms like this, where women can provide insights and share success stories, will only help women grow in the presence within this industry. And the increased representation is good for our company, and it will help manufacturing industry continue to thrive and doing even better. And so with that, I just want to say thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Kathy, hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I really loved it. A great example about fulfilling the supply chain need with China shutting down, and I love your commitment to encouraging women to be in manufacturing and the importance of mentoring. I had a couple questions for you that I was hoping you would answer. I wanted to know, what do you think the biggest misperceptions are that women have about working in manufacturing?
So, like an easy answer, because I heard it early on when I joined the manufacturing industry, is it wasn't glamorous enough. And what I mean by that is, I think there's still a stigma that's around, the old smoke pipes and dirty manufacturing floors. And I think that type of thing, or in the fact that it's manufacturing, what's unique, what's been innovative about manufacturing has been one area that really has been a challenge for when women think about what types of industries that they would be interested in looking at. And that is why I think, again, why I get back to why these types of events are so important. And actually, if my mom knows what 3D printing is and how, cool it is, I think those types of things really help us as well. But I just truly believe, as if we are passionate about this, we need to do our part to embrace women and people of diverse backgrounds and really help to foster them and really help people to think about, think of alternative of industries like 3D printing and why it's, give it a try. Like there's so much innovation, creativity, and again, things that women are great, and can bring to the party.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there any challenges that you encountered on your path to an executive role, and how did you persevere through these challenges?
I do a lot to make myself look younger. So I've been through during those ranks, and being in technology fields forever probably like helped, give me my, my fighting shoes on. I think that, the challenge I have really are not unlike what have been age old, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at technology fields, oftentimes you don't necessarily see what's mirrored there in terms of representation. Mm-hmm. And I think that has been a big part, but I would say that in what I learned and what I did was I actively sought out mentorship. And again, I keep saying that again, but I actively did. And my first mentors were men in my career because that's mostly who were around. But as we're able to find those women that were there, I really clung on to them and used them in order to help foster my career.
Yeah. What kind of skills do you think are critical to being successful in manufacturing?
I think, curiosity, I think is really, really important, is that asking, because I think, it's all about innovation. Mm-hmm. And so if you are curious and you are interested in what people do, I mean, I see things that look like potentially the most mundane type of part. Mm-hmm. And yet when you start talking to customers about what it's going into, it's like fascinating. Yeah. And I think that is probably your number one skill that you can embrace in it, because then that curiosity, then the next one challenges you to want to learn more. I mean, I didn't know anything about 3D printing 10 years ago. And then I think of the advantages, I think about the work that Carbon has done in terms of their processes. And I find it to be fascinating all the time. Oh, we lost Lindsay. All right. Is there any other questions that are out there?
I have a question for you.
Sorry.
There you go, Kristen. Okay,
I got disconnected from TIPE, so I apologize for the
no problem
for the delay. We do have a question. How exactly did you actively seek out mentorship?
Okay, so years ago, I actually read an article. I think it was like in high school. I know it was people used to read magazines. And it was a magazine called Newsweek, and they were talking, it was like big corporations that were talking about mentorship and what it meant. And, and they brought it down to my little high school self in terms of, what that meant. So I honestly, that's how I looked at it. And so teachers that were became my first mentors. And then, guiding advice in terms of what should I do with my career? Do I want to be a lawyer? But I've always, I think that's how I've sought them out, really were in terms of what I, when I just needed guidance or was having a hard time decision, or when I was I've got this challenge or whatever, help me think through how I can work this. And I will say I actively participate in professional mentor programs.
Yeah.
As a way to give back, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great.
Oh, Lindsay keeps getting kicked out. Let's see if there are any questions in that. And I know my time is almost up. I have 2 minutes here. There may not be any other ones that are there? I'm looking through the.
Oh my,
I think,
just
Kathy, one thing
kicked out.
I'm curious to ask about is just kind of following up more on the mentorship thing. I think a lot of people are always actively looking for mentors. And I've been asked multiple times, you know, do you literally go out and just say, hey, would you like to be my mentor? Or do you go about it in a little bit more of a subtle sort of way?
So that is actually a great question, because I've had people come to me and I just don't necessarily have the time to do it. So especially if I'm in a professional, if I'm working with a couple of people on an ongoing basis mentorship, which is generally like 6 months to a year, a program, if you will, in terms of like helping them to reach some goals that they have. But when I think about it in terms of like even my sales leaders, which by the way, I've like incredibly talented female sales leaders. I look to, you know, I will look at them in terms of mentorship, and they can come to me at any point. I keep myself available for them to mentor. But when in my own seeking of it, I'm very much like I want to talk in terms of mentorship. Doesn't necessarily have to be this long program commitment, but it could be, can we just have coffee and have just a discussion? And I think that that's a great start to go, because sometimes you feel a little vulnerable about asking for help or asking for guidance. And something as simple as that is a great start for yourself to put you in that position that you could actually work with somebody.
Good advice. Great advice. Thank you so much for your presentation today, Kathy. We really appreciated hearing from you. A lot of great information.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, and great work, everybody.